If you have ever stared at a spreadsheet and felt your chest tighten, or you avoid looking at your bank account because you don't want to feel the pressure, or you spend freely, and sometimes that means that you end up in a little bit more debt than you're comfortable with because you're working towards a vision, this episode is going to be for you. Money touches every part of our lives, and it can make us feel sometimes in good ways, and it can make us feel things in bad ways. And it's different for everyone depending on what your beliefs are around money. You see, money is an amplifier. Whatever you already are, it's just going to make you more of it. So if you're generous, you're probably going to be more generous. And if you have a lot of fear around money, the more you have, it's probably going to make you feel something even more intense. So today we're going to dive in and hopefully create some shifts for you so that you understand that money is more than math. It holds memories, beliefs, and when you learn to hold it in a way that doesn't make you feel unsafe, in a way that feels comfortable for you, it increases your ability to receive more and grow your business without overwhelm. So let's dive in. Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. Welcome back to the Conscious Edge podcast. I'm your host, Alicia St. Germain, founder of the Conscious Edge, where I help women entrepreneurs and real estate investors expand what they can hold emotionally, energetically, and financially so business becomes sustainable and fulfilling. If you are just joining us, we are right smack dab in the middle of the capacity series. So you may want to go a few episodes prior to this one after you listen to catch up. If you enjoy what you hear, please make sure you hit subscribe or like from wherever you're listening. We put these episodes out every single Tuesday morning, and we love that you're here. So just to catch you up a little bit on what we're doing, we are going through, and I'm sharing with you a training that I recently did around the 5 dimensions of capacity, which is emotional capacity, energetic capacity, financial capacity, which we're doing today. And then the next 2 sessions will be around time capacity and relational capacity. And what we find is that so often it's like, if I just do the thing, then I should get a certain desired result. And when you don't, it can be so frustrating. So many times that means that you've hit up against your capacity. So it's not too late to join. You can go to consciousedge.com/capacity. If you don't want to wait to hear the next 2 episodes, you can go grab those episodes. I'll send you all the replays. It's very likely that the series may have ended or be close to ending by the time you're hearing this, but you don't have to wait 2 more weeks to get the final 2 capacities either. So when I started the capacity series, I encouraged people to go fill out the conscious capacity assessment. I am going through each of those assessments, and I have created this capacity series based on what participants told me. I'm also taking a look at their business and giving each person some personalized recommendations based on the 5 dimensions of capacity. If you would like my eyes on your business and you would like to know what recommendations I would make for you, you can go to consciousedge.com/capacity. I will personally review your assessment, and I will send you back some feedback that will help you make shifts as well. So welcome. This is the wealth shift this week, from proving to purposeful growth. I want you to think about what number of money, like financially, feels safe to you. It's different for everyone. And then notice what happens in your body. Okay, now I want you to notice what's a number that feels unsafe to you. Whatever you think of, you're right. It doesn't matter. It could be a low number. It could be a really high number. And I want you to notice what happens in your body. what did you notice about thinking about different amounts of money? So your breathing went from relaxed to heavy. Okay. So for you, Connie, numbers are just numbers. But think about money in your possession and not in your possession. See if there's anything there. Okay. You had an income goal this year that felt okay and safe, but I tried to go higher and then it felt unsafe. Good. That's great because that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully it's going to give you some insight into what happened there and why. So if you've ever had a goal that you've set and it feels logically like you should be able to go after it, and then as you start to try to do it, that it doesn't happen, or maybe money flows in as fast as it flows out, all of these things have to do with our capacity. All right. So the thing about money that's really fascinating is that money isn't just math. It actually holds memory for us. It holds meaning. It holds emotion. Because very often, typically people will attach some kind of worthiness to money. They will attach some kind of safetyness to money or unsafeness to money. And a lot of it goes back to the belief. So if you haven't had an opportunity to listen to session 1 yet, you may want to go back and listen to that first session, because I talk about big assumptions and immunity to change, and how immunity to change sets up this nervous system like response that if this happens, then this happens. It kind of runs in this very contracted way. And so what happens is whatever meaning you have attached to money at different levels, doing different things in our life, it will trigger responses in you that are sometimes going to create undesirable results. So I want to demystify it a little bit for you today. And we're going to talk about financial capacity. So think about this as your ability to earn, hold, and manage money without losing your sense of safety. When we apply strategy, it can grow money. But sometimes what happens that can be very frustrating for people is that they will go find a strategy for making money. This could be real estate investing. This could be opening a business. This could be how you drive money within your whatever it is that you do in the world in your entrepreneurship. And you apply a strategy and then the money doesn't follow like it's supposed to. And that's where we figure out we've got a capacity problem. And I like to really say more of like a challenge, as opposed to you having a problem or an issue. It's really a challenge, and a challenge can be overcome. And so depending on where that challenge is, depends on the work that needs to be done. So as we've been talking through the series, there's 5 dimensions of capacity. We've already covered energetic, which relates to alignment. We've covered emotional, which relates to resilience and how well you recover when things don't go exactly as planned or when something triggers you. And now we're talking about financial. In the next 2 weeks, we'll talk about time capacity and we'll talk about relational capacity as part of this. But any one of those things can affect whether or not a strategy is going to work for you. But the idea is that we have a strategy. That's how we grow money. And you will sign up for courses, you'll follow a mentor's path, you'll do exactly what they tell you to do. And yet when the results don't come, it can be so frustrating. And that's because it takes so much more than just taking the steps. I used to think if I'm just coachable, if I just do what I'm told, then I'll make money. And then when it didn't happen, it was like, what was wrong with me? And it's through this process that we figured out there's a number of things that can go wrong. Can go wrong, or I don't want to say right or wrong, but can take you off course. So your capacity in those different areas will determine whether or not you can sustain it. And income often comes with ceilings. So there's a certain amount of money that many people feel comfortable holding. And it'll be like, no matter what you do, you've hit this plateau. And it's like, for whatever reason, that money, if it comes in, it flows right back out, or it doesn't come in at all. And it just keeps you right at this status quo. And so knowing your income ceilings and then testing the boundaries of it so that you can expand them is really important for being able to go past those safety ceilings that you have. So very often, one of the things that happens is that we equate money to worthiness, or we equate money to achievement. So if I have created a lot of money or I have a certain level of success, then I have a certain amount of money. And so if I don't have the money, now I'm not successful. If I do have it at a certain level, then I am successful. So we define our success by how much money is in our possession or we create. And there's this need, this thing that comes from ego that puts us into a state of needing to prove ourselves. And as much as you might not want to admit it, as women who are driven and high achievers and successful, we still very often, when I'm working with a client, will uncover that there's an element of wanting to be liked, wanting to be worthy, wanting to be enough or have enough. There can be enough or have enough. And it's this need to prove ourselves. How many of you can relate to, maybe at your core, if you were really to be honest with yourself, yeah, maybe I do have a little bit of setting goals where I'm really looking to prove myself versus, or get someone's approval or just what I have arbitrarily created as approval versus just doing it because it's really aligned. And the way that you know is if you feel pressure. If you feel pressure to perform, that's very often an indication that you have attached some kind of worth to money. So, you have hit your financial capacity ceiling when proving looks like overworking for enough. Like if it feels to you like I worry that I won't have enough, or that I could lose it all, or that I feel lazy if I'm not constantly working. I know some of you have a symptom of overworking. We've talked about that in previous sessions. Taking on all the responsibility, right? So it has to be on me. And it can feel uncomfortable to let go of responsibility because it can look like, well, then if I'm not doing enough, then I'm not providing value. And if I don't provide value, then I'm not worthy of receiving more money. And so it's a very strange thing for people as they become entrepreneurs and they start to grow the business. There's this need to hire people to grow your business. And it takes jobs off of your plate that you used to do. And it can be really uncomfortable to figure out, how do I justify paying myself generously when I'm not the one doing the work? And so there's that piece where the capacity has to shift in how you look at what your role is in the company. Hustling to feel safe, like I've got to make more, I've got to make more. Trying to control outcomes, because it's like I could lose everything. If in somewhere in your mind, I could lose everything, sometimes creeps in, then you start to try to control outcomes and get it right. And that's where the perfectionism starts to lean in. So all of this is very related to different things that we have already talked about in previous sessions, but we're coming at it now from a different angle. So you can start to see how complex these types of things can be. Who relates to some of these? Making fast or fear-based money decisions. Do any of these resonate with you? How many of you do some of these behaviors in your life? Fast and fear-based money decisions is a big one. Thank you, Kate, for your honesty. Absolutely. The overworking, the hustling, trying to control outcomes. When I panic, yes, but I try not to let fear dictate my decisions, right? And we're going to talk about how this proving is a nervous system response. So throughout this whole series, I always like to connect, because I am about science, soul, and strategy. So I'm always looking to connect to the science piece of it so that you realize this isn't just like a character flaw or something you do. This is a nervous system response. And the reason that sometimes I really struggle to define myself and what I do, because mindset coach just doesn't encompass it. Because to me, I can mindset myself into absolute exhaustion. And mindset is how you look at something or your perspective. What we're talking about is a nervous system, brain level response that is unconscious. And if these things are present, your body and your actions will go to work even without you realizing it. So this is not like you don't have a positive mindset. You don't have because that's, I think, where some people who are really trying hard and they're studying all the mindset, they're saying the right things, they're using really good language, but then underneath it, it's like, I keep creating undesirable results and I'm really frustrated. And what a lot of that surface level mindset, high level work that you see out there addresses, it's great. But if there's an underlying issue that causes a nervous system response, you can't help that. It's what it is. We need to be aware of it and work to rewire it. So that's what's oftentimes is happening underneath those. It's so true. It's like, when are we in a place where we can let our mind rest a bit? When you sleep, that's what that's for, right? Because we do. We have to manage our minds, but we have to also be aware of our bodies. It's like a program that runs in the background and makes decisions for us. Yes. And sometimes it's like, I don't know if you all, McAfee is not a program that I use because I feel like everything I have ever put, or is it Norton, is one of the virus programs. It's like every time you put it on your computer, it makes things run not good. So there's better antivirus protection out there, because sometimes you put some of these antivirus softwares on your computer and it doesn't run well because it's doing things in the background that are blocking you from getting the desirable results. It's exactly what it's like. So what I want you to understand is pressure can be a good thing. Okay. Pressure affects your nervous system in a positive way in some instances. But when we are in that state of proving where we activate the nervous system, it creates pressure, and pressure triggers a stress response. So cortisol goes up. When we get a cortisol spike, then our focus gets really narrow, urgency increases, we get really focused on good decision making. And that's why in a crisis, sometimes we can get really laser focused and do really well. Or when we are in performance sports, there is cortisol spikes that happen and stress responses, like right before you go on stage, maybe you get a cortisol spike. These things are not bad things. They make us perform better. The problem is that if we are relying and creating this on a continuous basis and we are constantly at an elevated cortisol level, it's going to lead to burnout. And it also leads to reactive money decisions. So we don't want to constantly be operating with a really high cortisol. It's not good for our body. It causes a lot of inflammation. It leads to disease. And on the brain level, it also causes decline, because the very thing that cortisol does for us, it starts to create the opposite response. So I want you to understand that there is a science behind this and a body reaction behind this that is good until it's not. So what I notice is that your nervous system has a money pattern. And on the two opposite extremes, they are both detrimental. So we have our visionary spender, which is the person who's like, I can always make more money. Money is easy to make. I know how to go and make it. And they oftentimes have a fear of missing out on opportunities. There might not be another one. So they tend to make decisions based on that. There's a lot of expansion with our visionary spenders without a lot of structure. And they often end up overextended. So this is where debt starts to come in. Then we have on the opposite side of the spectrum, your security seeker. So what if more doesn't come in? There's this fear of not having enough. And there's a lot of oftentimes structure. These are the individuals who do have structure and they keep really good track of their money. They will oftentimes have really good business planning, but there's no tolerance for expansion. So it's just structure, no expansion. And it slows and limits growth because of it. But understand, neither one of these are flaws. Again, they're just safety strategies, depending on what's in the background, depending on what's in the operating system. All right. So does anybody relate what more to one versus the other? And you might be somewhere in the middle. That's ideal. But very often when someone is seeking my support and spending time with me, they're usually at one end of the spectrum or the other. Okay. So Victoria, you're stuck right in the middle. So you might be really not having a financial capacity problem. Maybe it's a challenge in another area of your capacity, except tax time. So security seekers, we got visionaries. Okay, great. So how they show up, visionary spenders move fast and they jump into opportunities. They say yes now. They're like, I'm just going to say yes now and I'll figure it out later. Money feels very fluid and flexible, and accounting feels confusing and tedious. So being in the accounting of things and going through and keeping the books and making a budget and all of that is like, either I don't understand it and I don't care to because it's not exciting to me. It's not that high that I get from being a visionary, or I can do it, but it's so boring and it's so tedious and I hate doing it. And then on the other side, our security seekers, they oftentimes hesitate and they delay decisions. They probably miss out on opportunities because of it, because they overanalyze and they procrastinate a lot more. So they're going to pause until everything feels safe. The problem with the security seekers, when we're talking about entrepreneurship and investing, there is a level of risk that is involved in investing and being an entrepreneur. By definition, it's those things. And so if we have to pause until everything feels absolutely 100% safe, it can be very restrictive. Money feels fragile and finite, like there might not be more. And they only invest when risk feels fully controlled, like very much, which is not a bad thing. It's not bad to have your risk controlled. The problem is that it just can make it like you are pushing a boulder up a hill to try to get yourself where you want to go. Okay. So now with a little more definition, I know some of you are kind of in the middle. Do you lean one way or the other based on some of how these patterns show up? All right. So what I want you to understand from here is financial capacity is the combination of inner safety and outer structure. So again, how we go through this is from the inner safety side of things. This is about your ability to feel safe with earning, holding, and using money. So this looks like how comfortable I'm reading you're receiving comfort. What did I mean by that? How comfortable are you receiving money? So you might even think as I'm talking, imagine someone like gifting you or giving you money and what feeling comes up for you. For some people, there's like a sense of responsibility. Sometimes it's like, oh, I would owe them something. You may have some thoughts. Notice the thoughts that come up when you think about them. Yeah, owe them. I'm a big one on that too, Kate. Like, oh, what if I owe them? Okay, your tolerance for having money. So like thinking about how does it feel when it's in your bank account? There are people who, when they look at a certain number in their bank account, it can either feel like, oh, this is great, it's so safe, or it can feel like, oh my gosh, I could lose it all. It can actually be afraid to spend it or afraid to do anything with it because it's finite and there might not be more coming. Your emotional responses that you have to spending and investing. So if it is painful for you to make an investment, if you are like riding a roller coaster and white knuckling it with everything that you invest in and every deal you do when it comes to real estate investing and you're white knuckling it, there's a point where your body's going to go, you know what? I don't want this stress anymore. And so it'll cap how much you can actually do because you get tired of having to manage your mind through every single deal you white knuckle. So how you respond when you spend and invest, and then your nervous system's relationship with risk. Like what does it mean to you when you do take a risk? And one of the things that so often our brains don't seem to understand, I hear this all the time, is your brain believes having the money is what makes you feel safe. But the truth is your ability to create it with your ideas, with your actions, with what you do, that is what creates safety. Because if you realize if I lose it all, I know how to make more. I know what to do. Money is meant to flow. And when we think that it doesn't flow, we stop that. We stop it right there. So it's really redefining our relationship with risk and how we believe that money is created and how it creates safety. And then the other side of the coin is our outer structure. So how do you lead your money with clarity and intention? This is just like what you are talking about, Connie, is like, yeah, numbers feel boring and tedious. And I used to believe that. I used to be that person. I thought I wasn't good with numbers. I don't want to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. It feels boring. It feels tedious. And then when I started to understand that it helped me create so much clarity, it was simple math problems. It helped me make better decisions. I could direct where it went. Then I became like obsessed with it. And then when I understood it within my business structure, then I brought it into our home structure and started being able to use money as it's intended, really as this tool. So these are things like financial rhythms, like how do you tend to it? And how do you spend time with cash flow planning and good bookkeeping habits? And it's not enough to just have a bookkeeper who does your books to be compliant. If you're not checking in each month to see what is the cash flow coming in, where are you coming up short? What is the plan? And you're just saying, oh, I have money, so I'm spending it. Oh, I don't have money, so I'm restricting it. And you may vacillate between either one, depending on what you see. You could actually vacillate more towards visionary spender if you have a lot. And then security seeker, if you don't have a lot, you can vacillate between the two, depending on what has been triggered in you. So it's not enough to set it and forget it and let someone else do it. You want to review what's happening and make sure that things are being done properly, because I've gone from the person who like sort of fumbles through giving all of the numbers to my accountants so we can be compliant at tax time, to hiring an outside bookkeeping service and not really knowing or checking and finding out that they had been doing a lot of things incorrectly. And then finally coming to that middle place where I have a really good handle on it and I have the right support people in place and I know how to review everything. How do you allocate your profit? Many people follow a profit first method. And as I'm learning from my accountant, Jen Boss, who I'm going to talk to you here about in just a moment, this profit first methodology only works if things go really perfectly. And she has seen more people come in to get help from her because they have been following a profit first methodology and it's not working for them in the way that they're doing it because of how they're allocating profit. And it's creating tons and tons of debt for people. So she's going to come on the podcast and we're going to talk about that methodology and why it might not work for some people. So I'm really excited for her to have that conversation. She's really excited to get that out there because she's just seen it cause a lot of stress for people. And there's some thought errors that she wants to correct in that. And then a financial capacity plan. So this is how you'll grow in alignment. It's basically what I call a budget, but people think of budget. When you hear budget, you might think restrictive. And what I have learned is budget is a plan for growth, where I can take a vision or goal that I have. I can look at financially, what does that vision or goal need to be created? And then I can create a plan for expansion based on what I want to happen, which is essentially the same as a budget, but it's really how we grow our business. So having these outer structures with inner safety is really what expands our financial capacity. You need both to grow. So, one of the things that I like to make really clear at this point. So, my role, the Exponential Entrepreneur, is a program that I run, and it's for women entrepreneurs. And so, my role within this is to expand inner safety and emotional capacity with you. We look at creating clarity of vision and soul purpose. So, there's an element of spirituality and what you believe and how we drive our energy in order to create the vision and the life that we want. There's a soul to money as well. And there's places where we can block money energetically as well as in the brain from a scientific, like psychology based place too. So really looking at what is it that you're here to create and how do you intuitively connect in with what it is that you want to be doing as you're building your business plan. We work to rewire hidden beliefs that shape your behavior. And I use that process of immunity to change that I was talking about in session 1, and develop your leadership identity, align your decision making. One of the things that people often ask me is, how do I lean into my intuition? And a lot of that has to do with being able to take things, hold them out in front of you, get very objective about them, and then check in with your feelings and your thoughts around it. So being able to really make those aligned decisions that you can own confidently and not relying on other people to make those decisions for you. And then building a strategic and intuitive business plan rooted in income stability, wealth creation, and aligned growth. So that's what I do in the coaching. I'm super excited because we're adding I'm going to take this opportunity to announce a really exciting thing that's happening inside of the Exponential Entrepreneur, where I've partnered with Jen Boss of Peak to Peak Solutions to help you build financial structure, cash flow stability, clear money rhythm, strategic decision making, and a business that supports your nervous system. So one of the things that I have often found in coaching women is that you have this thing that you're really good at doing, but for a majority of people, they're not trained in running a business and handling the financial side of things. And so it's hire a bookkeeper, yes, but what do the numbers and what does everything mean? So getting to add this layer on is super exciting because I wanted everyone to work with Jen. I wanted everyone to have her be their bookkeeper, and I wanted everyone to get to do the same kind of one-on-one coaching that I do with her. The problem is Jen is so good and so talented that her time capacity, which we're going to talk about next week, is limited. And so she can only do so much one-on-one work. So I said, Jen, what if we partner and I bring you into the Exponential Entrepreneur and you teach women how to think like you do and get the right structures in place and hire the right bookkeepers that give you the information that you need in a way that's supportive. And then we're up leveling women. So this is a really exciting addition. It's the next level. And I'm going to take this opportunity to announce that. So from a reflection place, here's what I will send in the recording for you, but I want you to take some time this week and I want you to reflect on money as a mirror, because money will very often show us something about ourselves, which interestingly, I had a slide in here about money being an amplifier, and I don't know if I totally skipped it or double clicked through it. Money is an amplifier. So whatever you already are, it's just going to make you more of it. It's going to turn it up and make it louder. So if you have fear and anxiety and stress around money, if you tend to hoard it and be greedy, then when you get more money, you're just going to do more of that. If you are generous and helpful and lovely, it is going to amplify that. If there is dysfunction in your business because of lack of structure, the more you do, the more business you get, the more that dysfunction is going to be revealed, because maybe things that worked at a smaller scale were fine, but as your business grew, as you brought more money in, as you brought on more team members, the dysfunction in your systems and structure and processes becomes extremely apparent, and it can break a business. So money is going to amplify in whatever is working or not working. So think of money as a mirror. What story does money tell about your safety or worth? These are your reflection questions for the week. When do you feel most at ease with money? When do you feel constricted? What financial pattern do you repeat? There's a very always or never quality about it. So if you have a financial pattern that you see that you keep repeating, but even maybe as you at the next level, that's something to pay attention to, especially if it feels always or never, because that's a very good sign that there's a big assumption that you're making, a financial big assumption that you're making about how you relate to money and how you utilize money in the world that is limiting you and creating the same financial pattern over and over again. And then where do you leak money? So is it in time, emotion, spending, avoidance? Like sometimes when we're sad, do you spend to make yourself feel better? Do you not spend money and put more time? Like you leak out time because you're unwilling to spend money to get things done faster. Many times spending money will speed up a process because you can hire quality talent, find the right people, or you can get good systems and processes that automate things, but it requires you spending money. So think about those aspects of money in your business this week. Now, as we move through the process, so we talked about awareness, we talked about activation, making the choice. Now thinking about expansion. When we are looking to expand, we have to start with safety first. If we don't feel safe, we're not going to do the thing, or we're going to do something even maybe in the opposite direction that self-sabotages. So when we think about expansion, and this goes back to immunity to change work, we're going to take steps in a way that stretches, but in a very safe way. So I don't want you to go out after these sessions and immediately start completely changing your behavior. I wanted you to start with awareness. And then as you decide, I want to try taking some different actions than I have in the past, I want you to think about what feels safe. Doing it in small ways is going to create a better system of rewiring your brain than if you were to take big leaps and bounds. So very often, high achievers function in an all or nothing mentality. So I'm either going to completely overhaul my life on New Year's. January 1, I work out, I eat healthy. I work out 5 days a week. I eat healthy every day. I go at my business full throttle, right? And then when we get a couple weeks in and it's not sustainable, then we do nothing. That happens all the time. You're better off to do small actions that you can keep recommitting. We want to let go of all or nothing thinking because that's going to create safety. Then we use structure to stabilize everything. And that's how expansion becomes sustainable. That's right. Small, consistent action over time. So at this point, if you're ready to move forward from awareness into transformation and you want to start getting support around expansion, that's when I want to say it's time to book your Edge strategy session. You go to consciousedge.com/schedule. That will take you to my schedule this week, and we can spend time going over your conscious capacity assessment, uncover whatever financial big assumption you might be making, and looking at a next logical step for you. So next week, we're going to do Fueled by Focus. This is a new productivity paradigm. Many times we think we have to do more, but I'm going to challenge you to do less. So if you are listening to the podcast, it's very likely that at this point, the capacity series is close to ending. You can still go to consciousedge.com/capacity. If you enter your information, you can get the replay of all of these sessions to listen to at your convenience. So grab that now, listen to it. I guarantee you, you're going to take something away from it that is going to make you operate differently in the world. So with all of that, I'm sending you so much love. And if Jonathan were here, he would say, be well. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.